The tax collectors and sinners were all seeking the company of Jesus to hear what he had to say. The Pharisees and the scribes complained. "This man," they said, "welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he spoke this parable to them. "What man among you with 100 sheep, losing one, would not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the missing one till he found it? And when he found it, would he not joyfully take it on his shoulders, and then, when he got home, call together his friends and neighbors? 'Rejoice with me,' he would say, 'I have found my sheep that was lost.' In the same way, I tell you, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one repentant sinner than over 99 virtuous men who have no need of repentance. Or again, what woman with 10 drachmas would not, if she lost one, light a lamp and sweep out the house and search thoroughly till she found it? And then, when she had found it, call together her friends and neighbors. 'Rejoice with me,' she would say, 'I have found the drachma I lost.' In the same way, I tell you, there is more rejoicing among the angels of God over one repentant sinner." He also said, "A man had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, 'Father, let me have the share of the estate that would come to me.' So the father divided the property between them. A few days later, the younger son got together everything he had and left for a distant country, where he squandered his money on a life of debauchery. When he had spent it all, that country experienced a severe famine, and now he began to feel the pinch. So he hired himself out to one of the local inhabitants, who put him on his farm to feed the pigs. And he would have willingly have filled his belly with the husks the pigs were eating, but no one offered him anything. Then he came to his senses and said, 'How many of my father's paid servants have more food than they want? And here I am dying of hunger. I will leave this place and go to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your paid servants.' So he left the place and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with pity. He ran to the boy, clasped him in his arms, and kissed him tenderly. Then his son said, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the calf we have been fattening and kill it. We are going to have a feast, a celebration, because this boy of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now the elder son was out in the fields, and on his way back, as he drew near the house, he could hear music and dancing. Calling one of the servants, he asked what it was all about. 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the calf that we had been fattening because he got him back safe and sound.' He was angry then and refused to go in, and his father came out to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I have slaved for you and never once disobeyed your orders. Yet you never offered me so much as a kid for me to celebrate with my friends. But for this son of yours, when he comes back after swallowing up your property, he and his women, you killed the calf we had been fattening.' The father said, 'My son, you are with me always, and all I have is yours. But it was only right we should celebrate and rejoice, because your brother here was dead and has come to life. He was lost and is found.'" If Jesus told that story of the lost sheep to a bunch of shepherds, he would have had them rolling round in the aisles. No self-respecting shepherd would leave 99 healthy sheep alone on a hillside to look for a single stray. Even if he was lucky enough to find it, he'd get back to find the other 99 had wandered off. It's a good story, a funny story, but they wouldn't take it seriously. But they would get the point. They would understand what it felt like to lose a sheep and fear the worst. And they'd understand the relief and the joy at being reunited with that sheep. It's not that that sheep was more valuable to the shepherd or loved more, but it was lost, and it was found. My mum lost a ring once. It wasn't her wedding ring, but it was important nevertheless. It was expensive, I think. But what made it really valuable was my dad had bought it for her for a wedding anniversary. I think it was maybe their 40th. And she'd lost it. We all looked for it, but we never found it. Not for a long time, months later. I was digging in the garden, and something shiny caught my eye. My mum's ring. She was overjoyed to be reunited with her ring, and so were all the rest of us as well, at her relief more than anything else. Suppose the woman in the gospel must have felt something similar. I suppose it's a feeling we all know, losing something that we cherish. We can imagine the relief, the joy at being reunited with it. How much more true that would be when what we had thought we lost was a person, a son. That's what the gospel's about, the joy of being reunited with that which we have lost, at least we thought we had. And remember the reason that Jesus told these stories? Because tax collectors and sinners were seeking his company, and the Pharisees and the scribes complained. I wonder what kind of welcome tax collectors and sinners might expect from our church. The cold condemnation of the Pharisees, or the joyful embrace of a loving Father?